And welcome back to Illini Drive. It is Wednesday. I am Jake Hasan. Tommy Polson is unfortunately still sick with whatever is going on with him, so hopefully he gets better soon. But Nathan DeHaan is here, as always. Up? And joining us for the first time on Wednesday, you know her as the producer of the Tuesday Thursday show. She is a columnist for the Daily Illini, Tati Perry.
Yay. I don't think I deserve a full applause here.
Every new guest gets an applause.
That's what we do here.
Okay. Oh, they don't applaud on the other show.
Eli's
I feel like I should switch shows.
Well, if Tommy dies, then we
might get your opportunity. And Nathan also has a guest to introduce.
Yeah, with Tommy's absence, I decided to fill the chair with a good buddy of mine. He's he's a hot take machine and very excited about the start of the NBA season. Everybody, welcome Peter Kritikos.
How's it going, guys? Yeah, thank you, Nathan, for having me on the show. Just really excited to be here.
This is my show, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's our show. I'm a co-host. I have that on my resume. It's my show. All right, whatever. But yeah, Peter's been giving me the hot takes for NBA and NFL since I've known him, and I knew that he would jump on the opportunity to talk about his Warriors dubbing the Thunder last night, so I brought him on. We'll talk NBA a little bit. It's for the first or second time on the show. We talked about it when Jared was here.
Yeah, so it'd be the second.
Well, there wasn't much to talk about in the dead 2 weeks beforehand.
Of course. But before we get to that, we have to talk about Illini sports coming up this week, the game against Wisconsin. Obviously, we talked very thoroughly about the game against Purdue on Monday with Eli. And so now it's just kind of looking ahead to Wisconsin. And first, before we preview the game, though, is the news that I don't think we got to it on Monday, which is shocking. Bennett Williams will be leaving the program, the All-American as a freshman. He was one of the Illini's top players on defense, was suspended for the first 3 games of the season. I think played the first half against Penn State before getting hurt then. He has been dismissed from the program. He broke team rules on multiple occasions, was the reason that Lovie Smith gave. So that's obviously a tough look to lose probably your top defensive player. And then Lou Dorsey is also announcing that he's transferring from the program, Dorsey was one of your top offensive weapons last year as a freshman, and he was also suspended the first 3 games. He's just intending to transfer. So that's a tough look. Obviously, 2 of your most talented players leaving the program.
The feel around this season just so quickly turned from optimism, this team's going bowling, all of a sudden everybody's in the stands to watch us just lose it against Purdue. And then on top of, I think we knew Cam Robinson was transferring after he sort of saw the way that the quarterback situation was going to go. Right. All of a sudden having, All-American on defense and a promising weapon on offense transfer within, or either leave for the team or transfer within, I think it was 2 days of that news broke. So all of a sudden, and then we go to Wisconsin. Like, it's not even like we get to look forward to a game that we think that we really stand a chance at. And it's just a bad week in the vibes of Illinois football.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, you have these 2 players transfer within a week of each other, and then it's just, like you said, it's just been a very steep fall. Tati, I am going to make you talk because you are the football columnist, one of the 2, Gavin Good being the other. I mean, do you want to give your thoughts, please?
Okay.
Good. That was good. Thank you.
They did talk about this a bit yesterday. They were talking about it doesn't really show as much as you think because we haven't seen these players play this season at all, and they have been replacing him this entire season. So when Bennett touched the field in his 1 game, it was
underwhelming.
Yeah.
And then every time Dorsey was actually going backwards anyway. So they left. That's tragic.
I still feel like, though, this hurts the culture a lot, too.
Yeah.
Because not only did we talk about Illinois not being able to put it together in games when, I think we talked about the North Carolina game and the Purdue game, both having the same feel of a lot of campus support and then having terrible producing a terrible result on the field. And now, if you're a program that needs people at this point because, you obviously see that there needs to be more talent on the field, hard to convince recruits that all just watch that Purdue game. Right. This is a team that you should join when you can't even convince the players on the team right now to stick with this. And it's hard to say because, like I talked about, I mean, we had so much optimism in this room for 3 weeks prior.
Yeah. And like you said, the culture is what hurts the most because when Lovie Smith first got here and it was Bill Kubik's guys and Zook's guys leaving, it was kind of like, okay, Lovey isn't a guy that recruited them. Like, it makes sense that they want to go somewhere else. On and on and on, whatever the reason might be. But now these are guys that Lovey Smith handpicked and went out and got himself, and who were good players last year. And now they're jumping ship too. So it doesn't send a great message, like you said, to the recruits who are like, all right, am I going to come here and then want to leave because my role gets diminished or someone takes my place, what have you? It's not good. It's not a good look.
I'm also worried because like our number one recruit is Isaiah Williams, and we were stoked that we got him. But then all of a sudden we saw this like life out of MJ Rivers, and now we're seeing with MJ Rivers moving up the list, passing Cam Robinson, and him wanting to transfer. Obviously, AJ Bush can't be around next year. It's Rivers or Isaiah Williams' job to win or lose. And then I feel like whoever wins that, the guy is going to get complacent, and then they're probably going to jump ship. And it's going to be hard. It would be hard to start a true freshman like Isaiah Williams right off the bat. But it'd also be hard to convince him, stick around. I know we talked about on the show that maybe they want to move into another position.
Right.
But no quarterback wants to be told, you'd be great at a wide receiver.
Yeah. I mean, you have to assume they had that discussion with him during his recruitment, and he ended up committing. So whatever the plan is, I mean, I would hope they're on the same page, that there isn't something that the coaching staff's going to try him. They said, all right, you're going to be quarterback, and then he gets here and they say, all right, actually, you're going to play wide receiver. But that's a whole big thing. I mean, yeah, you have to hope that those recruits stay the course. But I think mostly you have to hope that, the bleeding stops and guys stop leaving the program too, because if this continues, if Lovey Smith's guys that keep leaving, you think of guys who have other guys who've had their role diminished or who maybe aren't getting the playing time that they thought they would, who might think about leaving the program too. Then it gets worse. You have to stop the bleeding here because, you can't let it get too bad because then you're going to be pulling people from the stands.
And I don't know about internally, but it's going to be really hard to stop the bleeding externally from the fan base because like we talked about, we're going to number 23 Wisconsin. Even with them not looking like the Wisconsin team they started off this season looking like, it's an impossible place to go and play at. Camp Randall will be unbelievably packed, and I know there's a lot of, I've even heard around campus U of I students wanting to go up for that game, and a lot of them saying, at least I'll get to see Wisconsin, which is not what you want to hear, but not just that game. Then we go at Maryland, which we talked about is one of those games that everyone's going to look at and be like, oh, Maryland's, they're by no means a football powerhouse, but it's at Maryland. It's traveling all the way to the East Coast. And then that's another game that it's kind of a toss-up. It's 50-50. We'll get there when we get there. So then all of a sudden you're going to be on a 3-game losing streak. And this fan base is just going to remember the last time they saw them in person was against Purdue when we put up 7 points.
Right.
And because I'm looking back, and I don't regret my optimism at all because we scored 30 in the first 2 games, 19, 24, and then 38. Our offense looked like it had at least figured out how to score after the second half of the Kent State game, and I felt confident about where we were, and then just having an opening drive touchdown and not scoring at all after that. Defense, obviously, there's a lot of issues and players that really need to step up, and it's just this is the low point. I think we went from steal the game from Purdue, winnable games on the schedule. Let's continue going, and then just to players transferring, to us not having faith in this program anymore, to people. Do you think Lovey's on the hot seat now? At the beginning of the season, we would have said that was ludicrous.
I think we did say that. I think it was brought up, and we did say that's a ridiculous statement. I think the ice is getting thinner, especially when you have guys like Bennett Williams and Lou Dorsey leave, and you come off a blowout to Purdue, and your only answer is, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that wasn't a good look.
That doesn't help you. I think the ice is getting thinner. I think it will continue to do so if players keep leaving.
Especially with his quote that said, I think you tweeted about this, that if Lovey in an interview said, if those players don't want to play for us, they don't want to transfer, then good riddance.
Divorce is good sometimes.
Yeah.
He said, quote, divorce is good sometimes. Those are players we don't need in our program. And I said this, saying that you don't need Bennett Williams and Lou Dorsey in your program is a wild statement. Not from the perspective of, oh, you should just keep handing them these chances. Oh, you should just hand them these things. Obviously not. When you break the rules, you break the rules. But saying you don't need talent like that is the wild part, because you absolutely do need those types of talents. And now even more of them are leaving, it feels like. So,
and it was Mike Carpenter that said after the, quote, divorce is good quote, he said, don't give the athletic director any ideas. Because okay, all right, we finished season 3-9.
Right.
Is Lovey very worried about his job?
I think if if you go into the offseason with only 3 wins,
One Big Ten win in 3 years.
Yeah, then I think he gets one more crack at it. Yeah. But it would have to be a monumental jump.
A big crack.
Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be his last shot because
that's crazy.
Especially if guys keep leaving. I mean, that's the main point. If guys keep leaving, that's a terrible look for you because these are guys that said, "All right, I want to play for you," and then after a year said, "Actually, no, I don't."
Yeah,
like that's. I mean, am I wrong?
Kidding. Just nah. I think to the Bennett Williams thing, I think it does set a better culture than we think. I think that the athletic director, Whitman, he probably looks at that as more of a good thing, that he's willing to punish the players, especially since we all watch sports and see that players get away with murder. Mm-hmm. Not literally, probably.
Shout
we don't
out
know
OJ.
No shout out OJ. Not gonna do that. Tati, continue.
They do get so I feel like in that sense he gets a plus in his column. Yes, we had to divorce a very good player, but that's more of a, I would see that as more of a plus than anything, is that he's willing to let go of somebody so good because he cannot be good for the program growth wise, and because he is growing adults as well as and productive members of society on top of athletes, because they're not all going to be pro athletes where they can also get away with murder. They are productive members of society first, so that's good. However, Dorsey.
But see, and to that point, I agree with that point because obviously these are young men that are going on and going to be working professionals after college, and they're probably not going to go to play pro sports. But that's when I feel like we start getting in that John Gross era where he was very proud of the way that he ran his program and the way that he produced men after the season. And the Illinois fan base sat there and was like, yeah, but I'd love to go to the NCAA tournament. That'd be pretty cool too. And I just don't want that to become the same thing. And there's a balance that you have to find, not in terms of, taking human beings and accepting their flaws and saying, it's okay, you're good at football, because I don't want to get into that range, but you need to keep talent on this roster if you can. Right. If you're not breaking team rules like Dorsey, then you don't really want to go around saying, we don't really need you because we could have used him against Purdue.
Right. And it's also kind of, if you say, all right, we don't need you. Yeah, we don't need you around here if you're going to break rules and do that stuff. But also, at what point does it say, okay, then why did they keep feeling they could break team rules? Why did they keep feeling like they could get away with this? And maybe they did get more chances than we know of. But also, it's like, okay, if the coaches are going to kind of burn us like that after we decide to leave, or in Dorsey's case, if we decide to leave, what kind of message does that really send? To be fair,
I don't think Dorsey decided to leave.
You don't think so?
He has just as many team suspensions as Williams, and he had a habit of not showing up to practice on time to the point that the media noticed and took note of it. So, I don't know.
Which is why he lost his job,
The day before, he showed up late on Monday and then was transferring on Monday. That was odd.
I think it was Monday night, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. You got the inside take there.
Yeah, obviously, if players are going to keep disrespecting the rules you set out there, then you have every right to remove them from the program. It's just very interesting to see how the clubhouse, and not the clubhouse, how the locker room takes this too, because obviously, those are your friends, those are your teammates. No matter what happens, I'm interested to see how they come out there Saturday. Speaking of which, for Saturday,
let's look forward.
Lovey has committed to AJ Bush being the starter in that game, saying that AJ's our guy. We talked about on Monday, MJ Rivers, if you're going to make him your quarterback of the future, why not give him the crack? And he obviously has a better arm. He has talents that AJ Bush doesn't, but AJ Bush also has talents that MJ doesn't at this point. But if you're going to start developing for the future, why not play MJ? I get it that Lovey wants to stick with AJ Bush because AJ Bush has earned the right. He's a grad transfer. He's been all across the map. And, he's only really had 2 games, 2.5 games to play. So, there's a chance that maybe he is still shaking that rust off and comes against Wisconsin. But Wisconsin's ranked, and I don't think any of us are really expecting
the line is 25.5.
I think we got it. I think we can take the game. She lies convincingly.
Yeah. I don't even think we keep it within 26 points.
It's going to be a tragedy.
Yeah, what was it? What was the line on Penn State? 20? Was that 28, 27?
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around there.
Oh man, yeah. Because
Wisconsin's going to be so hungry after losing to bitter
Right.
rival Michigan, and then coming back and they see
Coming
an
back
Illinois
home.
team that also just stumbled last week, and they're just going to run the ball all over us because they know they
Right.
can run the ball all over us, and they've got Jonathan Taylor, and he's going to make a Heisman. He's going to make a Heisman footage reel out of this game.
Well, I mean, we talked about it the last time
Yes.
Jonathan Taylor played this Illinois team. He had 70 something yards, on
73
12
yards,
carries.
and in a quarter and a half.
So that's not a great. And he's arguably gotten better. And the Wisconsin offensive line has arguably gotten better. And Illinois' weakness is run prevention. So I'm very interested, let's say that, to see how this game plays out. I think it could very much easily end up as a lopsided score like Penn State at 60, like where they hang 60 points on us.
I would agree.
My only hope is that if that does happen, it's like the Purdue game where it's just, they keep running it, and that's why the clock keeps moving. Because
So it's a quick game.
so nobody's expecting a win, right? None of us.
We doing?
No.
We got to do scores.
Nobody. Okay. Scores. Jeez. I'll start then. I think it's going to be Wisconsin 38, Illinois 10.
Tati.
I just, we're gonna lose so bad.
Yes.
I feel like you didn't give them enough points.
I know. I feel that.
I'm
probably as well.
feeling 50s, somewhere in the 50s, just because they're gonna show off because we can't stop them,
Right.
or Illinois can't stop them. I'm gonna go like 54 to like a really sad 3.
3. Oh man.
At least
Okay.
Chase McLaughlin's still hitting.
Yeah.
Peter, I'm making you put a score on there.
I think we're gonna have a case of like the Penn State game we saw
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. I think we're gonna keep it close. We're gonna have some dignity, and we're gonna be looking at like maybe us being down by a touchdown, field goal going into halftime, and then they'll probably run away with it as the game goes on. And I'll say we're gonna probably put up 13 to like I'd say we're gonna go down like 35-13.
All right, 35-13. I'll take that. And then I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm with you, Tati, that they're gonna hang a lot of points on this defense. I think it's gonna be 48, but I'm confident in the offense 14. 48-14. I feel
Doubling our score from the
I'm feeling
Purdue game.
touchdowns, baby.
Oh goodness.
So, oh man, yeah, this is just, it's not going to be good. How many, I say Jonathan Taylor gets 275 yards.
275.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Did you
Minimum.
See, yeah, I mean, remember what Sanders did to Illinois?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just as bad, if not worse. I mean, Sanders had against Illinois.
All right. Jonathan Taylor game log. He's done 145, 253, 117, 113, 221, and 101 on the loss to Michigan. Never had more than 101 rushing yards.
Less than.
Right, and never had less than 101 rushing yards, and he averages like 6 a game, six a carry.
Yeah. Yeah. Miles Sanders had 200 exactly against Illinois, and I think Taylor's probably better. So 275 yards on the ground. For
I'd go like 225. I agree, it's gonna be 200s.
It's not going to be good.
I don't know if it's pushing 3 stacks though.
It's
Can you
gonna-
imagine if they just never threw the ball? If they
With Alex
first, second, and third down.
With Alex Hornibrook back there, they might not. I think in his last game, he only threw like 10 times.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
he's a very average quarterback. But okay, well, that was really depressing. So we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back with some NBA talk, NFL talk. Apparently, Peter has some takes that he needs to get out there. So all that when we come back right after break. And we are back with Illini Drive. Myself, Jake Hasan, with Nathan, DeHaan, and Peter. I'm not even going to attempt the last name. And Tati turned her mic off because she doesn't want to talk anymore. So that's fine. No closing thoughts, Tati? Nothing?
Bye, Tati.
My mic is on. It's I don't want to talk.
Okay. Noted. This was a stipulation of Tati being hired. She said she didn't want to talk, so I
The content's
obliged.
down to us.
Yeah, which is fine because apparently I was told Peter has some takes, so if you wanted to throw one of those out there,
Yeah,
we
so-
will discuss.
You guys want to start off with NFL or NBA? Because I'm bursting with hot takes, and we could start.
Whichever one you're feeling, whatever your heart desires.
Let's go from coldest to hottest.
I like
Okay.
that. That's good.
Okay, so one of my takes here. We're gonna start with NFL. Let's look at last week here, and the Chiefs. The undefeated Chiefs go down to the Patriots. There's nothing like a dose of Tom Brady to reality check a young quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. And one of the things I'm looking at here is a little bit of a slide from the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to slide in the next coming weeks. You're not going to see that undefeated team you saw through the first 6 weeks of the NFL season. And you got them playing the Bengals, the Broncos, and then so they're coming up on the Rams and then the Ravens later on in the season. And I think that a young quarterback in Patrick Mahomes might not be able to handle the heat.
Are the Bengals good?
With a little bit of dose of Tom Brady.
I mean, I don't know. I think that we think the Bengals are good. You think an Andy Dalton team we can like really get behind?
I think it's going to be the same thing the Bengals always do. They're going to go 10-6, 11-5. They're going to make the playoffs and then they'll lose in the first round. I mean, I think it's just going to be the same thing as always. Because I mean, yeah, the Bengals are.
They're 4-2 right now.
I think so.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, but I mean, the Bengals are just fine. I don't think they're a real threat to anyone.
Their defense still mean. They still hit people too hard every now and then.
Vontae's perfect.
I was actually just watching that Antonio Brown hit from the playoffs a couple years ago where the player on the Bengals just totally late
Smoked
hit him.
him, yeah.
I was actually,
Speaking of Antonio Brown hits, I don't know if we talked about this on the show. I think we talked about this though. Remember the opening game of like 2 or 3 seasons ago when he just straight up kicked the Blake Skinner in the face.
I think it was the Bengals kicker, wasn't it?
Just tried to hurdle him, gave up halfway through, and just kicked him straight in the face mask.
He ended up getting his jaw wired shut. I think is what happened.
No way.
I think I heard that story.
That's tough.
After that happened, he definitely broke his jaw. I know that was definitely part of it, but I don't know if he got it wired shut. As far as the Chiefs go,
I think they're gonna be fine.
I think they're going to be fine, but I mean, I never thought they were going to go undefeated. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is awesome. I think he's really, really good. But when you go to Gillette to face the Patriots, a Patriots team that was already, they're not that good this year. Oh, watch out. We all know the Patriots are going to go 12-4.
And we all know that anybody that raises questions about the Patriots in week 3 is a fool.
Right.
We know fooled again.
We know what's going to happen. So, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I was actually surprised the Chiefs kept it as close as they did for the most part.
I was very impressed with Patrick Mahomes in the second half and the way to claw back in cold Foxborough on a Sunday night.
Right. And I think that says a lot about Pat Mahomes and this Chiefs team. They have a lot going for them, from Tyreek Hill to Sammy Watkins to Kareem Hunt to Travis Kelce. I do like them as a team. I don't think their schedule's that bad going forward. I mean, I really just see the Rams, Ravens, maybe even the Chargers being an issue for them, that little 3-week stretch there.
I mean,
what do we think of the defense, though? What's that saying? Defense wins championships.
Yeah.
I mean, we all say that, and here they are consistently week after week getting into these shootouts.
Right.
And is that something that's going to be sustainable for them heading into these next couple weeks? With that, I do trust Pat Mahomes. I think he's going to be a great quarterback, but is this the year that they're going to really put on that show?
I don't know. See, because like you talked about, they keep getting in shootouts, and is that sustainable? It's proven to be so far. I mean, the only team you lose to is the greatest quarterback of all time, and like you said, the schedule coming up: home against the Bengals, home against the Broncos, who you already beat on a cold night in Denver. At Browns, I don't have an issue with that. Home against the Cardinals, they'll take care of business. At Rams, is going to be
that's when it gets interesting.
That's going to be a great
that
game.
3-game stretch there, yeah.
Well, then they have the Raiders after
not
that.
an issue,
but
then the Ravens and Chargers. But the Chargers they already beat this year.
I think the Chargers are a real deal too.
Yeah, I do think. Yeah, the Chargers look very good. But that Chiefs-Rams game in November,
that'll be fun.
It's going to be very interesting. I think that's really going to be the Chiefs' first big test outside of the Patriots.
Well, and because you also talk about this defense, they have games against offenses that they can figure things out still. I mean, Bengals, Andy Dalton, AJ Green, that's a pretty solid offense, but the Broncos, offense hasn't really shown any life. The Browns are the Browns. The Cardinals are the Cardinals this season. So I think that they've got a 4-game stretch that they can figure things out. And if they don't, by the time the Rams come around or the playoffs come around, I would agree, all of a sudden your passes and your routes aren't connecting and it's not the same offense that you're used to, then it's an issue, but
They did hang 30 on the Jaguars, too, who a lot of people consider the best defense in the NFL.
then again,
so.
Dak hung 30 on the Jaguars.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I think Pat Mahomes is well on his way to. Is he going to be eligible for Rookie of the Year? No, right?
No.
He'll probably be Offensive Player of the Year. Maybe even push for that MVP. But
He's probably MVP right now, wouldn't you say?
probably. I mean, I think it depends on.
Defensive MVP is probably still Khalil Mack.
That would be nice.
Well, I mean,
depends on if he misses any time going forward. But,
I mean, based on numbers right now,
Yeah,
I'd say if you were
probably.
a voter, yeah.
but it's probably between him and J.J. Watt, which is normal.
Yeah, and you see that J.J. Watt and T.J. Watt are tied for the lead of sacks in the league. That's nuts. To be a Watt. Think about what that Thanksgiving dinner is like. Just a bunch of
lot of
beefy
calories.
dudes, and then they
It's a
go
lot
out
of
and
calories.
just hit each other at the turkey bowl. That'd be a lot of fun to watch.
What are you thinking for just quick take? What are you thinking for Bears Patriots next week? I got a buddy going to the game. He's a Patriots fan though, so
I think it comes down to if this Bears defense is as good as we thought they were after the first 5 weeks.
I don't think they're gonna play like they did against the Dolphins. I actually think we're gonna see the defense that we saw in the first few weeks leading up to the Miami game.
There's just got to be a pass rush.
Right. If Khalil Mack is out, that's going to hurt, obviously. But Nagy said today that he considers him day to day. But I think this is going to say a lot about the secondary more, about Eddie Jackson, Adrian Amos, Kyle Fuller, Prince Amukamara, because the Patriots obviously have Tom Brady, and then they have Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, and Josh Gordon around him. So that secondary is going to be tested a lot. And then Sony Michel, too, is obviously another threat. He's had over 100 yards and a rushing touchdown each of the last 2 weeks. So that's going to be very interesting. Do I think the Bears can win this game? Yes, I think there's a chance. I'm still fairly confident that they can hang with the Patriots even after this Dolphins game. I think that's going to turn out to be more of an anomaly than anything. But, I'm interested to see how Mitch plays.
Yeah.
Because does he keep taking those steps forward? Because I said after the Miami game that he still had a good game. He obviously didn't have 6 touchdowns the game that he had against the Bucs, but
Still threw for 300 yards.
right, still had 3 touchdowns, should have been 4. So he's still progressing in a way that we like to see him go. So I'm interested to see if he steps up to the challenge of Tom Brady.
Especially since that Patriots defense was hailed as a formidable defense, maybe like one of the top 10 in the NFL this season. And they haven't really looked unbelievable. But by no means are the Patriots losing games because of their defense, though. So I'm curious, if all of a sudden Mitch is on, but so is that defense, then you could look at, just the Bears not being able to get it going and then having to turn around and give the ball to Tom Brady every time.
Yeah.
Peter, what do you think?
I'm worried about Gronk right now. I think he's been a little bit quiet this year, but I think he could have a field day easily. And I'm looking at the same thing you were saying with Trubisky. One of the things is like, I think it was only in a couple before that 6 touchdown game, that fantastic game he had. I think he only threw for multiple touchdowns in 2 games or something like that. And then last week we saw him throw for 3, which was really promising. And the last thing I think the Bears needed was for Trubisky to show a little bit of that greatness that we were looking for from that first round pick. And I think that should he step up to the plate, we can definitely hang with this team, with the Patriots. But like I said, I think it's a coin toss. You got guys like Gronk and even their highest target on the team, James White. These are guys that we have to cover. And like you were saying earlier, it's definitely going to come down to our secondary. And is Khalil Mack going to be there to pressure Tom Brady? I want to see that 40-year-old go down. I don't know about you guys.
This could be a big Roquan Smith game because everyone's talking about his sideline to sideline speed, and he's going to have to do that against guys like Gronk, against guys like Edelman over the middle.
He was leading tackler in the Dolphins game.
He was, and he looked really good. He looked fast. He looked like he was making really quick decisions, which obviously is promising because he missed all that time before the season. So I think it'll be interesting.
And I think the Bears win that last game if they have that pass, if the pass rush.
Right.
Not even like that we have seen in the past, because I think that everybody kind of knew that, okay, this team is overperforming a little bit right now.
They were on an unsustainable pace.
Right. So, but I still think, I mean, you do still have Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith when you choose to rush him, Danny Trevathan, Hakeem Hicks.
Floyd.
Yeah, exactly. So Leonard Floyd showing his strength in that Miami game.
That was weird.
That was just you like watched it. You watched as he started to pick up the player, and you were like, wait, no, don't do that. And then he like grabbed his leg again. You're like, no, stop. And then he like actually did like the full whatever.
That was such a weird thing.
Oh well.
What else you got?
If we could switch, do you want to stay NFL right now, or do you want to go NBA?
We can go to the NBA if you want.
Yeah.
If that's your thing. Yeah.
We're at your mercy, Peter.
So one thing I'm looking at in the NBA, so I'm a shameless Warriors fan. I like the Warriors.
Bandwagon fan.
Yeah,
Bandwagon fan. Peter was a Heat LeBron fan, and then he followed greatness to the West Coast.
Also, my uncle's from the Bay Area, so shout out.
And he's really close to that uncle.
Yeah. But no, so I root for the Warriors. I like to watch good basketball. And I like to see LeBron James lose now. That's one of my passions on the side. So one of the things that
Bottom of your resume as interests is LeBron James losing.
One of the things that I'm looking at is the Celtics team. I mean, I know there's 81 games left in the season, but like if you told me that Kyrie Irving would shoot 2 of 14, Gordon Hayward would shoot 4 of 12, and they would combine for 17 points, and they would still blow out the 76ers last night. Like, that's scary. I mean, like, we're looking at a team that, like, could actually compete with some of these Western Conference teams that, like, we've been constantly saying the East is garbage and the West is stacked. But, I mean, this Celtics team, like, that's scary, those numbers, with 2 of their best players not contributing much, and then them still going on to handle one of the teams we herald as like a solid NBA team.
Mm-hmm. I think the Sixers are still like one of those like 1 year away teams, and that's why I think it's the Celtics or the Raptors that are going to be able to actually pressure the Warriors in the finals. Because I think the Celtics match up really well with the Warriors because they both run smaller lineups.
Jason Tatum's so good.
And Jason Tatum, when
so good.
He went off on the 76ers and. I mean, and you watched him be in charge of the Celtics team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you lose to LeBron in 7 games. Sorry, but it's because you were riding a rookie, and he's showing that he's not going to regret. I don't think he's going to regress at all this season.
Doesn't look like it.
I still think him playing power forward, he's going to get bodied around by some of those teams that run bigger lineups.
Right.
But for the teams that don't. I mean, even 76ers, you have Embiid on the inside, and Tatum still finds a way to, get those mid-range jumpers or be able to drive on the inside. 76ers, I think that Embiid's got to give more. I think Embiid is very much one of those people that, like, if he sees a possession that he wants to score, he'll really work and, like, show the post moves that he has and some of the handles. He hit a top of the key 3 last night just to show off the range. But the 76ers never had a lead in that game.
Right.
And I think that if you would have told me the Warriors were going to beat the Thunder by less than the Celtics would beat the 76ers, I'd tell you you're crazy. But that's basketball.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics, I feel like their thing is Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward missed a lot of time last year. So I feel like that's just a matter of getting back into game shape. I mean, you can practice and run scrimmages all you want, but I feel like in a week we're not even going to be talking about how they went 2 for 14 or whatever it is, because they're going to be hanging 25 points each out there. And then they still have all these other guys, Jason Tatum, we talked about already, Jaylen Brown even, Marcus Smart's a key contributor there. They just have so many guys that can do so many things. Something interesting that you said, though, Nathan, was the Raptors pushing the Warriors in the finals. Do you value the Raptors that highly?
I think people forget that although they lose DeMar DeRozan, an upgrade with Kawhi Leonard, and I think this is the only season that he's in Toronto, but he's still, I think, a top 3 defensive player in the NBA. And I think and you got to remember, he was an MVP candidate 2 seasons ago. Mm-hmm. So I think you added an elite player to a team that already had, 64 wins last season, and you don't have LeBron in the East anymore. So Toronto lost its daddy. He went over to LA, and you don't have to play him in the playoffs anymore. So I don't know. I still see Kyle Lowry. I still see Valanciunas, or however you say his last. Is that right?
Valanciunas.
Valanciunas. Thank you. Ibaka's still there. It's still a solid team. It's a new coach, so I don't know about the system. I value them highly because I think that they have defensive talent, and I think that you can put Leonard on Durant in the finals and say, do what you did to LeBron in 2014. Although he still hung a lot, a team that relied on him, and you shut him down, we'll try to do our best with the backcourt, and we'll body around Boogie in the inside and deal with Draymond's antics too. But I just think that those are the only two teams that can compete, because I think the Sixers are a year away. I don't think the Pacers are quite on pace yet.
Nice. Wordplay.
Thank you. I think Giannis might be an MVP candidate, but I don't think that he pressures the Warriors all that much.
He's a one-man show.
Exactly.
The Raptors they don't do it for me. I can't convince myself that they're going to do that much.
Fred VanVleet off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, because my thing is with Kawhi Leonard.
He's an Illinois guy.
VanVleet, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Leonard, he was this elite player. He's an MVP candidate. But I just feel like Toronto's core there. I mean, Valanciunas, Lowry, and Ibaka are all another year older, and they weren't exactly spry young guys.
Right.
So I just don't know how much I believe in them being able to support Leonard in a way to carry them to the finals, past the Celtics or even the Sixers. I think the Sixers, they get better as the year goes on too, because I think they're still adjusting to life with Markelle Fultz.
I just don't think the backcourt could shoot it all, though.
No, they can't.
Simmons and Fultz is your backcourt. You're gonna have to get a lot of JJ Redick minutes.
Somehow I've ended up in Boston Celtics Twitter. I don't know how.
Sure.
But
the nature of being on Twitter late night and being like, oh, what's this fan base talking?
Yeah, I mean, I follow a lot of people from Boston apparently, but one of their big things is they just tweet at Ben Simmons and they at him. They just say, "Shoot a three, coward." And it's the meanest thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's really funny too.
It's like that old legend about what Jordan said to Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah, it's just it's so funny because it's just strings and strings of it. It just doesn't stop. It's really fun. Even when he's not playing the Celtics, you'll see it just a handful of them.
It's because
so weird.
It's really funny though. I saw a hilarious video the other day. It was Ben Simmons in warm up shooting threes, and he was actually draining a couple, but the reaction was edited in. After he shot a three, they would play a video from the reaction of Vince Carter's dunk in the dunk contest, and everyone's just freaking out and geeking that he made a three. But
Celtics Twitter is so weird.
NBA Twitters. You bringing up the weirdness that is Celtics Twitter reminds me of when J.R. Smith was on that just ice cold streak with the Knicks. There was an account created that I followed at the time that was the title was "Did J.R. Smith miss?" And they would just tweet yes or no. Just yes, no, yes.
That's
no, surprisingly. Or it'd be no and one. But that was the furthest that they would conversate, and it existed for 2 years.
Jeez. There's one of my favorite things. I just smoked my elbow off this table. Ow. One of my favorite things about it, and I'm not a huge NBA guy, but one of my favorite things is there's a guy in Celtics Twitter, and his name on Twitter is Janos, and it's NBA Celtics Janos, and it's so funny because he tweets a dude from I think he said his location one time was Siberia or something, and he always tweets these crazy things hello at NBA Celtics, is Janos. Would be great if you could do a win today. Soup is on stove. It's the funniest thing.
I just pulled it up. He looks super cold, and he's got all his warm weather gear on. His bio is fan NBA Celtics, best team, most titles.
Yeah, it's so hi at Kyrie Irving, is Janos. Is big year for you, play on NBA Celtics. LeBron is run fast, Hollywood too scared on us. Usual big wimp, that guy. Raptors just have that lazy guy, not play on Spur. Usual fail, those guy. I am say good luck on you for win title. Thank you, is Janos. And every tweet, thank you, is Janos. And it's the best thing ever. It's so funny. Oh my God!
Wow, thank you for showing me this.
It's so funny. It's one of the best things ever. People try to reply to him all the time, and he
never responds to anyone.
No, people try Janos, where are you? And he just gives no personal details. It's the funniest thing ever.
Hi at Warriors is Janos. Now is time for you shake in bed like big coward guy, wet bed and hide. Soon NBA #Celtics are come to a crush on you, take title. You are luck, enjoy, many win, but is over now for you. Thank you, is Janos.
It's so funny.
Wow.
At the end of last season, like when the Celtics lost, his tweet was, "I am take rest now," and he disappeared for the entire summer, and then just came back like 2 days ago. It was so funny. It's like the Celtics Twitter. There's some weird guys out there. You should.
All right, I'll take a look into it.
It's so funny.
So, Steve, I was watching Stephen A. the other day, one of my favorites, and he came on and he said his top 5 storylines for the NBA season. So I want to see if you guys like agree with these, or you want to toss in another.
I find myself disagreeing with Stephen A.
Another storyline. So his first one was LeBron and the Lakers, KD, Davis, and Kawhi. So I'm guessing like the MVP race maybe. And then he said Carmelo's impact, Celtics threat,
or lack thereof.
Wait, KD, Davis, and Kawhi.
I assume that means for the MVP race.
Yeah.
But like no Giannis. I feel like he has. I think Giannis has the highest betting odds.
Speaking of Giannis, he has 4 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists in 10 minutes right now.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just a stat packer.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then he has Celtics threat and then emergence of 76ers. So are you guys looking at any other storylines that you're thinking of right now? Like me personally, I was interested in the Jimmy Butler, like Timberwolves storyline. I think that one was kind of goofy, and like there seems like so much stuff like that is going on in the NBA where the player will like, I think the saying goes like, don't speak out, just act out. So like there's players like Kyrie Irving just like requesting trades, or like Kawhi Leonard just.
Kyrie Irving isn't requesting trades. Kyrie Irving said he was going to be like long term.
No, I'm saying when he was last season when he was on the Cavs.
Oh, okay.
But and then we have like the same situation with Kawhi Leonard, and like, are we going to see this with like Butler, someone who I thought would maybe not be that type of guy, but.
Yeah, the Jimmy Butler thing, I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the show. It was very surprising and weird. And
Very weird.
And he's now
Especially now that he's reporting and like going to play.
now that he's like on the team, he's just alpha dogging everybody in every interview, and and like they asked him like what his goal was for opening night, and he was like trying not to get kicked out of the stadium. He's just got BDE everywhere, and it is hilarious.
Jimmy Butler's a weird dude.
He's super weird,
He's just
dude.
like a weird guy.
He just doesn't like anyone.
I think he just doesn't like anyone. He's trying to secure the bag and then just fade away.
Besides Mark Wahlberg, they're actually like really good friends.
They're
off
buddies?
The court.
They're
Yeah,
really?
it's kind of funny.
That
I've, like, seen pictures
actually
of them
explains a
together.
lot.
Jimmy Butler to the Mavs.
Did you just mix up Mark Cuban and Mark Wahlberg?
I did. I did.
That sounds like that doesn't make sense.
Jimmy Butler on the next Entourage. My bad.
That'd be hilarious.
He'd be a good fit for that show.
I think he would.
He's like Johnny Drama 2.0. A storyline that Stephen A. didn't bring up that I talked to you about this before, Peter, is I'm very curious about the Nuggets this season. Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Jokic can't play defense, but that's why they have Paul Millsap in there to clean up his scraps. And that's
The ghost of Paul Millsap.
Yeah. And that's where I said, Jimmy Butler to the Nuggets. He's a good defense, and they don't really have somebody that's like a lock at small forward right now. Maybe Michael Porter Jr. develops into their long-term small forward, but I don't know. I think that team would compete for Western Conference. Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, Jimmy Butler, Nikola Jokic, ghost of Paul Millsap.
Yeah, I mean, possibly, but what would they give up? Is the thing.
They'd supply them draft picks and everything. They'd pretty much buy into that team.
Picks, yeah.
I mean, picks, and then probably a role player, and then maybe take on a bad contract that the Timberwolves don't want anymore.
I could see that. I mean, that makes sense. I'm interested to see if Jimmy Butler does get traded, or if he just enters free agency and the Wolves end up like a 4 or 5 seed in the West, and they get bounced in the first round, and then just he goes into free agency and probably goes to the Lakers or who knows what.
That would make this entire season of Timberwolves basketball worth watching. Because any moment Jimmy Butler might just like steal the ball from Andrew Wiggins and just start punch him in the face.
It's just blocking his own teammates.
Yeah,
that'd be really funny.
Jeez.
One thing that I'm watching, and obviously being in Illinois, I'm interested to see what the Bulls do, just because I'm interested to see how they make Parker and Levine fit together and how they're going to mix and match that up. It seems like they're experimenting with Parker off the bench. I don't know how well that's going to go. And then once Markkanen comes back, I'm very interested to see how that comes out too, because Markkanen's obviously your best player. But Levine's looked really good in like the preseason from what I've read. He's made a couple defensive adjustments, but it looks like he's healthy and he's scoring again. I personally don't think Parker's going to become anything. I think they're going to end up declining that option after this season and freeing up that money to go after someone else. But I'm more interested to see how the core of Dunn and Carter and Levine and Markkanen work together before this offseason.
Yeah. The over-under of the Bulls is 30.
I think they could win 35 or 30.
I'd take the over. I'd take the over on that.
37.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Lauri Markkanen was gracing the NBA with all of his. It was the most threes by a rookie. He's a center.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna hammer the over, but Markkanen's out. I think 6 to 8 weeks with that elbow. But he was honestly like the anchor and like the bright spot of that team. And I wouldn't even be surprised if like by the end of this season we're looking at the Bulls as a top 3 front court in the NBA. We got Wendell Carter Jr., Lauri Markkanen developing after a season of playing together. I think these guys are the real deal, and like they're definitely the future for us.
I will remember this time as a Bulls fan. I will remember the time that I sat here and I watched a young front court, and I was like, please work out. And because if it doesn't, we're just going to be in a decade of bad Bulls. Yeah. But if it does, I mean, that's one thing I think that doesn't really change in free agency is that you don't really get a front court. You either have one or you don't.
Right.
Like the DeMarcus Cousins like going on free agent market only happen every now and then when they do, they freaking go to Golden State, so you didn't even have a shot.
Right.
I don't know. The Bulls have the 5th lowest over under. People really don't think this team is that. They have the Cavaliers being better, the Magic being better, the Brooklyn Nets being better. I think part of that's
Markkanen being out probably.
Maybe.
For the amount of time that he is. You expect them to lose a lot of games there. But, I mean, who knows? The Bulls are so weird. I mean, last year they won a bunch of games just because Nikola Mirotic came back for a couple weeks and decided to just be good for whatever reason, even though he was
ruined our lottery chances.
Yeah, even though he was mostly average for the entire 4 years prior to that, which is just how it goes with the Bulls because they are just.
Do you miss Mirotic? I kind of liked him.
I really liked him before he even got to the Bulls. When he was playing overseas, I really liked him, and then he came over.
And he had a pretty good stint with the Bulls. Like I don't know why I heard a lot of people say, like how they were not a fan of him.
I think it's because
he wasn't an answer.
I think it's because he never met expectations that were set for him. I think people thought he'd come over and be like this lights out shooter that would really space the floor and then could also go inside. And he never really became that. Like he would go on those weird like 2-month stretches where he would shoot like 60% from 3 and put up like 25 points a night. But I think it's just because he never really panned out as like a key contributor, like a really good 6th man that everyone thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's kind of turning into that with the Pelicans now, because of course, because now he's off the Bulls.
He's not on the Bulls.
So that makes so much sense. What do you guys think of the Thunder this year? I'm surprised Paul George stayed. I didn't think he was going to stay.
I was surprised too, and he signed a long-term contract. Like what is it, 5 years or something like that? I think it was player option after 3 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I think he buys into what the Russell Westbrook era Thunder is, and he sees the next free agency, the next summer, as a summer to recruit another free agent to try to make Oklahoma City, a championship contender. I don't think they're that now. I don't think that. I honestly don't think a Russell Westbrook-led team will ever compete for a championship because I think that Brody's about getting his, and I don't think he's about when it comes to the playoffs. Congrats, Russell Westbrook. You had another triple-double, but you guys lost by 15. I don't know what it is, but he just can't seem to, the way that he plays, he just can't seem to beat the teams that he needs to beat and put himself in the right positions.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like the best he plays is when he has that chip on his shoulder, like when he's going up against the Warriors or something. But I think I like the Thunder more this year than I did last year. I mean, we have some addition by subtraction with Melo being gone, honestly, in my opinion. And I think he wasn't a good fit for that team, which obviously made a lot of sense. But the reason Paul George stayed, I think he wanted that payday, which I think isn't. I don't blame him, honestly. And I mean, he's going to be 29 years old this season. I think he's 28 right now. So he wants that big contract, and I think he's the type of guy that knew what it was like to have it all taken away from him when he got injured in the Olympics. But I think he wanted that payday, and it's not all that often you're going to be playing with a top player in the league in Russell Westbrook. And like we're looking at those two as a duo. Paul George really didn't have anyone like that throughout his career. So I think he sees us as a good landing spot, not really wanting to play under the shadow of LeBron James, where everyone thought he was going to go to the Lakers, but rather sort of create something for his own and on the Thunder. And I think the Thunder are just solid through and through. Steven Adams is a beast. I mean, that guy is just a caveman. But I think we're looking at a team that's going to be a top maybe 4 or 5 seed in the West, which is saying something.
Right now, the Vegas odds have them as the 4 seed in the West.
Yeah.
I feel around that. I feel okay with that.
So the Warriors, Houston, who else? Who's
Jazz.
Okay.
They have the Jazz winning. They have the Jazz at 49.5 and the Thunder at 48.5.
Okay, so that's close. Yeah. I think just getting rid of Carmelo Anthony is going to help them more than we think. Because he just
it's crazy how quickly our perception of Carmelo Anthony changed. We always said get him out of New York, like let him go compete somewhere. Then he came to the Thunder, and we were all like, man, like what's this guy's deal?
Yeah, I think we kind of saw that he's just not the guy he used to be. He used to be the guy that could carry a team and be a high volume scorer, and now he's just a high volume misser. Like
I miss the old Melo.
Yeah, I mean he's just not.
He was the hardest to defend 1-on-1 in the NBA for like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah,
like isolation Melo, like he could pull up from anywhere as he worked his way in on you towards the basket, and he was big enough that he could get to the basket if he really wanted to. Now he's kind of just big.
Yeah, I am excited. I'm excited to see him and Eric Gordon come off the bench for the Rockets, though. I think that's
the bench.
He is coming off.
He is coming off
the
bench, which is shocking.
I think
The
that
bench. I still remember that interview, and I was like, "You're going to be a terrible fit for the Thunder."
Yes, correct.
If you right away are like haven't even been with the team yet, and you're just going like, "Bring me off the bench," like,
Yeah.
you got to know that whatever the head coach says goes at the end of the day, and you got to put yourself at the mercy of him. And I know that you are, however many time All-Star, however many time, in like the top 5 for MVP, but
the bench.
the bench.
And yet there he is with the Rockets. Are the Rockets an actual threat this year to the Warriors? Because, I mean, Chris Paul injury last year, and the Warriors kind of handled him. Does Chris Paul healthy make that much of a difference?
I don't think so, because they lose Trevor Ariza, and they added Carmelo Anthony.
For whatever that's worth,
Right.
if anything.
I think their best shot was last year, honestly. I mean, Chris Paul's another year older. That hamstring injury is not going to get much better. I mean, you're going to tweak it again. It's going to be 10 times worse.
Something we talked about with AJ Bush, the hamstring injury, was we were like, those are injuries that you need to make sure you take care of well right away, because if not, they will nag you for a long time.
And like, even if by the grace of God they get into a game 7 again with the Warriors, they're just going to miss 27 threes again.
Right.
I mean,
They
Carmelo's going to break probably half of them.
They run an unsustainable offense. That's the thing. So that's why last season, like, it was working. It was like, okay, it's like Javi Baez's season this year. He is still swinging every pitch if I see it. And this year it was different because he hit Yabos and had, was the RBI leader and batted .290. And I think that's similar with the Rockets. They were the team that shot threes, didn't really play defense all that well, but it was working. So why try to fix anything? And I think this season is one of those seasons where if they keep running that offense, I think that they, maybe they miss more, and all of a sudden they're in closer games, and all of a sudden teams come out on top, and they don't have the best record in the West anymore. And I agree. Last year was their best shot, especially since they hosted Game 7.
Right.
I don't think that happens. I don't think the Warriors are the 2 seed in the West again. I don't think it's close.
So we kind of buried the lead with the NBA talk. How many games are the LeBron Lakers going to win this year? Are they going to be in the playoffs? Let's start with that.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Like 8-7 range?
6, 7, 8 seed. I mean, it's LeBron. So
Right.
There's any game that they can say, like, our offense runs through you now, and you watched him do it with the Cavs and just carried. I looked at, they showed a graphic of the starting roster of the Cavs last season, or the roster that he ended with in Game 5 of the finals, or Game 4 of the finals this last season, and then the roster that he starts this season with, and both of them, you look at them, you're like, this is just super underwhelming.
Right.
I mean, yeah, here's Rajon Rondo, Kendavius Caldwell-Pope, Brandon Ingram and
Ball.
JaVale McGee. Whereas last season you had Tristan Thompson starting a finals game.
You at least had Kevin Love.
You had a former All-Star, but I don't know. I still think LeBron can take over games when he wants to, and he's still, he's like Tom Brady. He seems like he keeps getting better as he's getting older. There's no slowing him down. But at the same time, when he comes off the court, I think that you're going to see a big plus-minus. A big varying range of when LeBron's on the court and when he's not. Because when he's not, this is still a Lakers team that was garbage last year.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
they added Lance Stevenson. They added JaVale McGee. They added Rajon Rondo.
All right, you're telling me that this Lakers team is worse than the Cavs team that he was on last season that still had, 50-some wins? Yeah. I mean,
they're comparable.
The 07 Cavs team that LeBron was on had 50 wins, and look who was on that team. I mean, you're talking about one of the people we regard as the greatest player of all time, and he's not like Jordan in the fact that he didn't pass. Like, he actually tries to involve his temeammates, and I think
subtle dig at Jordan.
Suddenly, let's just go debate it for the rest of the show, but no. I think they're. When's the last time a LeBron James team didn't have 50 wins?
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he is in the West. Maybe this is the strongest the NBA's ever been, but he's got, I think Brandon Ingram's going to break out this year. I mean, he went from averaging 8 points to 16 points, and now we're looking at maybe 20.
Cavaliers last season were 50-32. So
exactly 50
wins. I think this team is. I think they're 50-32 or 49-33. I think that they're very much comparable. But I also think that 50-32 gets you the 7-8 seed in the West rather than being the 4 seed in the East, because you don't have the Heat as a 6 seed. That you don't have. God, who made the playoffs in the East? Who cares? It's the East.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how LeBron brings along these young guys, but. That is all for us. Peter, thank you for filling in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Tommy, get better. Tati, thank you for taking time out of your very busy day to produce. I know it was a big favor.
It's no big deal.
as she says it like it's the hardest thing in the world. But thank you all for listening, for hanging out with us. This has been Illini Drive. Tati, please hit the music.